It tastes like a warm hug. Like, I don't even know how to describe that. It's just warm and rich and just comforting. Some beans, so there are different kinds of beans, and for me I opted to use the red kidney beans, and I've soaked them in water so it helps fasten the cooking process. So I have my maize here. I'm going to put it in the pressure cooker. For my pressure cooker, it depends with how your pressure cooker works and the settings, but for mine actually I put my maize first, though it's soft, and then because my beans have been soaking, I put that in a bit later, and then all of it gets ready together. My githeri has boiled, so I did boil some maize and some beans in my pressure cooker, and it's now very soft. You actually can have this with just some butter or some blue band, so this is also a snack by itself. So this is basically githeri by itself. We're just elevating it a little bit. So I have my tomatoes, of course, some onions in here. I have some ginger and garlic, and then I have my capsicum, my red and yellow. Of course, I want a bit of color in there. And then I also have my ndoma. So I actually like frying my githeri with either cassava or ndoma. So I know some people prefer potatoes, so it's a preference. So I find cassava and ndoma having a richer flavor, so I prefer that texture, but it can be what you want. So this is just my simple, very simple recipe. For my spices, I'm keeping it as simple as possible. So when I cook, I try to minimize my spices to at least 5 or less, so that I don't overpower my ingredients. So I have my Royco cubes, my beef Royco cubes, my githeri. Most of the time this has to be a part of it. So I also have my garam masala and my coriander, because I don't have the actual coriander, so I'll use this. And for now the heat, because also we like heat in this house, I have my black pepper and my chili flakes. So this I'll use just a little bit, just to elevate the heat a little bit. My pan is now hot, so I like to make sure my pan is hot before I start. So I'm just pouring in my oil and my onions and my garlic and ginger. So I have my chopped onions. Our githeri is already cooked, and I made sure my maize and my beans are very, very soft. So of course you don't want to put it at the beginning, then now the beans are going to crash. So the main thing here is cooking the arrowroots, which is ndoma in Swahili. So this is the main part. Once the ndoma is ready, then everything else just comes in together very fast. Onions are actually now translucent. They have softened a little bit. I'm going to add in my ginger and garlic. I'm This is basically about a tablespoon. I'm letting this cook. So it's actually really already starting to smell really nice. And you know, when you can tell that your neighbor is making something, yeah, I'm sure my neighbors can also tell. My onions are cooked. This is the right spot for me. I don't want them to cook beyond this. So now I'm going to put in my tomatoes. I'm going to put in my tomatoes. I'm going to let this cook down for a little bit, and then I'm going to start building up on my spices at this point, and my salt. Yeah. My tomatoes have cooked down a little bit, which is what I wanted. So I'll now start building some of my base. So I have my garam masala. So one thing is, because I know the cooking is not a lot, it's just the arrowroot, you want to start with your spices early so that you don't have spices that are not well cooked, where it is your food is powdery. You don't want that. So you need to start, if you know the cooking time is not a lot, make sure at least your spices come in as early as possible. You don't want your food tasting like powder. That's not what we're trying here. So I've done my garam masala. I have my Royco cubes. So now I'm going to stir this in. The smell, the aroma is coming together. So for salt, I start very conservative, and if I need to adjust, I'll adjust, because now if you start too heavy and maybe you don't measure well, then now it's now going to be a problem. So of course, if you do, there are ways to correct your salt intake also. So if you mess up, you can actually cut maybe some potatoes in half, put it in your stew. It will help soak up the extra salt. But of course, you don't want to do all that science, but that's a hack if you need it. So you have my arrowroot. I'm pouring this in and stirring this. So here I have some beef stock that I stored for my stews, my sauces. So I'm going to pour a bit of that in. So at the end, I want my githeri to also have a little bit of salt, not too much, but I also don't want it extremely dry. So I have my arrowroots that are actually almost all the way done, not fully, but they're almost there. So I'll put in my black pepper. I like my black pepper towards the end, and then the chili flakes will come at the tail end. So fun fact about this is, earlier I said this was mostly like a central Kenya meal. We know also other regions in the country have the same meal, like even in Eastern, like it has spread out, like even many tribes eat this as a meal. They just maybe describe this in different names. So in my search, not even today, like a couple of months back, I was wondering what is the English name for githeri, and actually it's sakotash. And sakotash is a North American name. So they also have their version of githeri, but they use, instead of the red kidney beans that we've used, they use lime beans and sweet corn. But now, I guess because to translate it to English, it's sakotash, but sakotash itself as a meal is a North American dish which has lime beans and sweet corn, as opposed to what we have, which is the red kidney beans and the green maize. So but that's the name that is recognized as an English name. So it was interesting to know. So now you can be saying you're going to make sakotash. I hope I'm using the right pronunciation for that. So now that my spices are okay, I'm pouring my githeri. So I want to see whether I want to do all of it. I'll be able to tell. Githeri has simmered for a bit. So what now I want to do is add my capsicum. Let this just simmer for like 3 minutes, and my chili flakes, and we are done. Our githeri is ready, and we are going to go in for a taste test. So we have our githeri with a bit of stew. I have my avocado slices, just a little bit, and some onion slices. So I'm going to go in for a taste test. It tastes like a warm hug. Like, I don't even know how to describe that. It's just warm and rich and just comforting. So try this and tell me how it tastes for you, and maybe give me your recipes for how you make your githeri. So until next time, bye.